So you want to make your cheating spouse jealous. So you found out that she's cheated on you, you feel angry, and you want to get back at her for what she's done. You want to scratch that revenge itch in a way. And whatever you do, guys, you do not want to make these mistakes I'm going to show you in this video. And I've seen men make these mistakes countless of times, and it always leads to deep, deep regret, not only in yourself, but also in your relationship later on. So I made this video for you to make sure you never even come close to making these mistakes I'm about to show you in this video. So you can categorize the mistakes that people make into 3 different categories. The first category is what we call the active mistakes. And this is when you're actively trying to, again, make your partner feel bad for wanting to have that affair. So you get angry at them, you guilt trip them, you make them feel belittled. And I get why you would want to do this active approach, because right now you feel the full sense of that betrayal. And there's a lot of things that you want to say to your partner. And saying all these things to your partner can be a very cathartic, can be a very emotionally healing event for you. So I get why you would want to do this active approaches. And the second category of mistake is what we call the passive response. And this is when you're basically acting like you don't care. And people usually do this for 2 reasons. Number 1 is that sometimes the feeling of betrayal, of hurt, of pain, and anger that you feel can be very intense. And while the first approach, the active people, they show it very outwardly, these people, if you are doing the passive approach, you are basically turning inward and you're suppressing it and you're pretending like you're not really bothered by it because it's really too painful to confront the full brunt of those feelings. The second reason why people do this is that they may have watched some videos, some clips around how high value men don't chase women, for example, how high value men are unbothered by things like this. And if you let this bother you, then you're really taking the weaker way out. And so they pretend like they're not bothered by this, they're not angry by this, but inside, if you talk to these people, they're actually very, very angry inside. And the third category of mistakes is what we call the stoic responses. And this is when you're using logical arguments to basically convince your partner to logically stay into the relationship, come back into the relationship, or feel guilty for wanting to have that affair. And I get why you would want to do this too, because when you do think about your partner cheating on you, there is no logical reason why someone would destroy years and years of memories, of history, and sometimes even destroying the family unit to have that affair, to cheat on the relationship. So it doesn't make sense. So here you're using all these logical reasons to basically try to make sense of that situation. So you might ask your partner, for example, well, have you thought about this? Have you considered this? Have you considered that I do this for you? And they're trying to use those logical responses and questions to hopefully wake their partner up logically to get her to stop cheating and betraying that relationship. So I'm going to show you why these 3 approaches that I showed you is not only not going to work, but it's going to backfire hard in leading you to deeply regretting doing these 3 things. The first reason why this is a massive mistake is that this will actually make the internal pain that you are feeling, that you think these 3 things will scratch off, actually it'll make it a lot worse. And have you ever heard of the saying, what you resist persists? And there's actually 2 very good psychological reasons why that happens. The first is what we call the purple giraffe paradox. So this is a funny one where, let's say I tell you right now, do not think about a purple giraffe. Well, what are you thinking about right now? Probably the purple giraffe. But when in your life would you ever think about a purple giraffe? Never. The only reason why you thought about the purple giraffe was because I told you not to think about it. And this is like someone saying, for example, when they're really angry, a lot of people, the way they try to calm themselves down is by telling themselves, I'm not angry, I'm not bothered by this. But by telling themselves they're not angry, they're actually reminding themselves of that anger and actually worsening that anger. And that's what we call the purple giraffe paradox. And so when you try these 3 approaches, and you, let's say, try the passive approach where you pretend like you're not bothered and you walk away, that is you letting the purple giraffe paradox come into play, where you telling yourself that you're not bothered actually makes you internally more and more bothered. The second reason why whatever you resist will persist is what we call the conscious and subconscious paradox. So this paradox basically says that when you say that you want something, you consciously say that you want something, your subconscious, well, it's basically admitting to itself that you don't have that thing. So for example, if you're saying, I want to be happy, then you're also admitting here that you are not currently happy. So if you say, I don't want my partner to have cheated and I want her to come back, then you are also admitting internally that your partner is not back, that she is cheating, she is having an affair. And this chasm between what you want versus what you're admitting of what your current situation is right now, this chasm creates a lot of anxiety, a lot of anger, a lot of feelings of lack, a lot of feelings of anxiety within you. And if we go back to the 3 types of toxic responses that we talked about, and if you deeply think about them, you'll realize that all of them involve some sort of resistance in some way. So for example, here you might be resisting that the affair did already happen. So a lot of people, they do the active, stoic, or passive approach because in their minds, they just cannot believe that, let's say, their 10-year, 15-year relationship is going to end this way. And from that state of shock and disbelief, they do these 3 toxic responses. And you may also be resisting the fact that you may actually have contributed to the demise of your own relationship, of the culture of the relationship. And actually, you may have contributed to the fact that you pushed your partner away into having that affair. And finally, there's often some resistance around the fact that you really cannot say or do anything right now to stop your partner's affair, to make her feel bad about it, to guilt trip her away from it, to convince her otherwise, etc. There's really nothing you can say or do. And I can sense a lot of you right now feeling a bit offended by the things I'm saying here. So for example, you might be saying, well, how do you say it's my fault? So you might want to click away and ignore the advice I'm trying to give you in this video. Or you might be trying to lecture me on how I don't understand, but Jeff, you don't understand, my situation is a bit different. My partner is this, my partner is that, I never did this, I never did that. But if you look at those 3 things you just said, think about it. The first one is you taking on the active approach. You are getting angry at me, the messenger, for telling you what you need to hear because it doesn't fit what you want to hear. The second one is you taking on the passive approach, where you're just saying, you know what, I want to ignore the problems. I want to ignore the fact that there may be solutions to this. The third approach is really the stoic approach, where you're trying to logically convince me, the messenger, that your story is different, your case is unique, that there's no good reason why your partner could be cheating and why she would have cheated, etc. But let me ask you this. What does getting angry at me or getting angry at your partner, trying to logically convince me or your partner, or trying to walk away and pretend the problem doesn't even exist, how does that change the fact that the affair did happen already, that you do currently feel hurt, you do currently feel angry, that you may have actually contributed some to the degradation of that relationship? How does it change the fact that there is really nothing you can do to change her mind right now, that her mind has been made up due to the years and years and years of the degradation of that marriage? In fact, the more you resist your reality, the more those negative feelings within you will persist, the more it will grow, the more it will compound. I know this can be very difficult to understand and fully grasp, especially if you have never really observed these paradoxes within yourself, but take some time to pause this video and let yourself really feel this resistance and really accept the true reality of your situation and how ignoring me or getting angry at your partner, ignoring your partner, trying to take the stoic approach with me or your partner does literally nothing to change your situation. And the second reason why these 3 toxic responses will yield to some very deep regrets eventually is that you are wasting the pain right now. So if you have been following me for a while, you may have heard many of my clients, like Kurt, the guy who was facing one of the worst cases of an affair I've dealt with. And so you may have heard these clients say things like, don't waste the pain. What do they mean by that? So you know how people say you learn more from your failures, your difficult moments, than you do from your easy moments or your successes. So here, you're going through a very difficult time, a very difficult moment. It could be that this difficult moment is due to many years of your own failures in leading that relationship too. So let's say that this situation right now of you finding out your partner is having an affair and is cheating on you is trying to teach you 20 things that you need to learn about how to lead the relationship, how to lead yourself, how to better yourself, etc. 20 things. But because your brain is so preoccupied with that anger, that feeling of betrayal, and it's compounded by your resistance that we talked about earlier. So maybe it's because you're too busy blaming your partner rather than looking within to see what are my own flaws. Or maybe it's because you are ignoring and clicking away from videos like this that tells you what you need to hear rather than what you want to hear. Or maybe you're too busy trying to convince yourself, your partner, and all your friends that you have done everything you could to make the perfect culture in the relationship, but nonetheless, she was so messed up that she cheated on you anyway. Like, the fact that your mind is going to be preoccupied with these things is going to distract you away from actually looking within, looking at your own flaws, and looking at the full list of the 20 things that this event is trying to teach you right now. So instead of looking at the 20 things, you may only see the one thing, the one key learning that this moment is trying to teach you right now. And so what happens then is, because you did not learn all the things you need from this one experience, you repeat the same mistakes in the future. And you find yourself that 5 years later, you find yourself in similarly painful, difficult positions because you made the same mistakes over and over again, and you feel the pain once again. And so here's why we say you're wasting the pain if you're not learning everything you need to learn from the previous pain. And so not only are these 3 toxic approaches, not only are they useless for you, but they can actually be harmful for you in the long run as well. But it's not just harmful and useless for you, but it's also useless in terms of your relationship, in terms of your partner as well. Because number 3 is that you're not changing anyone's mind by doing any of these 3 things. So for example, we say in many of our videos that the reason why every relationship degrades is because they're missing the 5 key pillars: emotional and psychological safety, admiration, alignment, and passion. Now ask yourself this: if you, for the last 5 years, for the last 10 years, were able to create the level of safety, admiration, alignment, passion that is 10x of what she can find elsewhere with any other person on this planet, and the prospect of being single, for example, would she have cheated? If you're really honest with yourself, the answer is a dead no. I mean, it would be really dumb for her to have cheated. Now, if you say, well, Jeff, yes, she actually would have anyway because she's not loyal. Maybe you say she's a hoe, or she likes to sleep around. She has no loyalty. She has no morality. Think about the insinuations you're making about your partner right then and there. You're saying that even though you created an environment so perfect for her, so amazing for her, 10x of what she can find anywhere else, that she's so dumb, that she's so amoral, she's so animalistic, that you think so lowly of her, that you think she will still cheat anyway. Imagine if someone thought that lowly of you. Can you actually feel safe in that relationship? Can you actually feel admired in that relationship? Can you actually feel any sense of goal alignment or teamwork in that relationship? Of course not. So by definition, if you're still saying in your head that yes, she would have cheated anyway, even though I created the perfect environment, you have just admitted that you have not created the perfect environment. Do you see the irony and the paradox there? So if you respond in either the active, stoic, or passive approach, think about how you're actually worsening the 5 pillars and how you're worsening safety yet again. And that's exactly what caused the demise of their relationship and what pushed her away to that affair in the first place. So if you play on the active approach and you get batshit crazy on her and you get really pissed off and angry at your partner and you guilt trip her, then that's an obvious reason why that will destroy safety. If you play out the stoic approach, all you're gonna tell your partner is that you do not understand the feelings behind romantic relationships and that you see relationships as this very logical, very robotic thing that has been destroying safety, admiration, passion, alignment, etc. And if you take on the passive approach, you are not fooling anyone, right? So if you take on the passive approach and you act unbothered, you act like a cold fish and you simply walk away, she's not gonna look at you getting unbothered by this and go, oh my God, maybe he has changed, or maybe he's stronger or higher value than I thought. It's not gonna create any sort of intrigue or mystery. This is the person who have been living with you for many years or even decades sometimes. They know who you are. You're not fooling them by these tactics of making yourself a mystery, pulling yourself away. That's not gonna change her mind at all. So this is why I say, if you do these 3 things, I know the temptation is massive to want to do these 3 things, but don't, because you will deeply regret it within yourself and also within the context of the relationship as well. Trust me, guys. So now that we've talked about what not to do, let's talk about what to do instead. And there's 4 things that I teach all my clients to do. Number 1 is what we call getting rid of the victim mindset and attaining true acceptance. And this is true acceptance of the fact that, yes, right now, the affair did happen. It already happened. And there's nothing you can say or do in the short term to change that, because the relationship has been degrading for a very long time. Her decision, her mind was made up a long time ago. And even if you were to come up with the perfect set of words, the perfect set of actions to actually convince her to come back or to stay, that is not going to remove the fact that in the back of her head, she will still think about wanting to have an affair. That is nothing you can say or do can change that. And it's also accepting that maybe, just maybe, you may have a massive part in contributing to the degradation of the relationship, because if again, you could create safety, admiration, alignment, passion that is 10x what she can find elsewhere, this would never have happened in the first place. And I know this can sound easier said than done. And when I see a lot of men who are facing this situation, the reason why they have such a hard time healing and actually going to a better place after this is because of the purple giraffe paradox, where the more they try to suppress their feelings, the more they try to fight their feelings and combat it, the worse it gets. But if you can attain this true state of acceptance, that is really the first step to a better future, a better life, to your growth. And like they say, right, the first step to any rehab program, for example, is acceptance of the true nature of your reality. And the second step is to untether. So untethering, again, is not just about hopeless indifference and not giving a crap about your partner anymore, not caring if she divorces you or not, but it's really shifting the attention away from the circumstance and into intrinsically loving the process. And here we're talking about the process of acceptance, the process of growing and getting to a thriving state internally, building your skills to create safety, admiration, and the 5 pillars, etc. Building your internal skills like a bulletproof vest, untethering, getting rid of the victim mindset, antithetic thinking. All these skills that we're talking about is learning to love those processes intrinsically. And when you can shift your attention away from whatever is happening in a relationship to this growth processes, that will allow you to focus on the big picture better of your life, that your life doesn't end with this relationship, doesn't end with this affair, that you have a lot of life to live still, and that you have a lot of life to grow towards. And it helps you to also move past the affair a lot easier as well. It allows you to get a clear head and actually advance and grow in much faster, much bigger, and much more meaningful ways, because your brain is not distracted and focused on useless things and also harmful things bred out of your in the moment emotions. So it's not like the people who say, for example, you know what, I don't need you, I don't need my partner, I can be happy by myself, I can be happy finding someone else. But really they're saying this from a place of anger, from a place of hurt, from a place of deep resentment. But you can actually say these things where you can say, I can be happy with or without my partner, but you're not coming from this place of deep resentment. In fact, it's coming from a place of joy, of hope, of positivity, etc. And that's because you've learned to really fall in love intrinsically with the process and not what the process will lead to. And the third step is to build your bulletproof vest. You know, very few men can actually thrive through this. So at worst, a lot of men are fragile. They, again, let the purple giraffe paradox and all these resistances really compound their deep-seated resentments and actually lead them to learn the wrong things and develop really unhealthy defense mechanisms because of this. At best, they can only be surviving. So they can really just keep telling themselves, it's gonna be okay, it's gonna be okay, it's gonna be okay. But you know that they're crumbling and they're trying to hold on for dear life day by day. But very few men actually thrive through this, where actually, if you look at a lot of my clients, for example, when they find out that their partner is cheating on them, they actually rise up even higher. They actually see that as an opportunity to discover some internal flaws that they have within themselves, something that they can work on, something they can fix, something that can better, something that can look forward to in terms of a better future, a better process, a better self. So they're actually thriving whenever crap happens. And if you really think about this, guys, this thriving state is really the best place where not only can you save yourself and get yourself to a much healthier and positive state, but it's actually the healthiest and most positive way to create that sense of jealousy in your partner and intrigue for her to consider, maybe this guy has changed, maybe this guy is worth coming back to and re-exploring. And number 4 is really mastering the 7 frameworks that we teach. And this is really your ability to lead all your interactions, all your conversations with your partner to the point where you can not only show your changes, but again, create that intrigue and create that sense of wonderment in your partner to say, maybe this guy has really changed. And this is not what people call like a pick-me dance, where you're just dancing around and saying like, pick me, and I'm different now, I'm awesome now. This comes from a very confident and very thriving state again, that you cannot fake, the internal shifts that we talked about. So for example, for a lot of my clients who face a partner who is cheating, they actually eventually have that conversation with their partner to be like, hey, I know you like this guy, and I know you're seeing this guy. If it's okay, I would like you to actually tell me more about this guy. Tell me what this guy has that I don't have. Tell me what this guy provides for you, makes you feel, that I haven't provided for you, that I cannot make you feel. That conversation is not a pick-me dance, but a dance bred out of pure curiosity, pure thrivingness. And that actually leads to many, many amazing conversations that can not only show your changes, but makes your partner question a lot about her decisions. And once they find out what's missing, then my clients are free to use what they learn to then figure out, okay, how can I be this guy but a better version of this guy, right? And it's really mind-blowing stuff what happens when you become 10x of any other guy you can find on the planet. Because at that point, that's when it will be really dumb of your partner to not run back into your arms. And number 5 is reestablishing the 5 pillars. So again, slowly, once you build that initial layer of safety, you want to build admiration, you want to build alignment, you want to build passion, and basically become 10x of other alternatives that you can find. So here, we're trying to ask you to go way beyond the basics like pies, for example. This is really the point where you need to create the necessary and also sufficient changes, and that requires you to really build those 5 pillars. And once you're able to have these internal shifts, and you can create the 5 pillars 10x of any man on this planet, then from then on, like my clients do, you are free to choose where you go from here. Either you want to reconcile with your partner, or you might say, you know what, I don't think I want to reconcile anymore. I want to take this value somewhere else. You are free to choose that. But if you don't create your value, if you get distracted by all these nonsense, then you basically are putting yourself in a position where you cannot choose. But if you grow yourself, then feel free to choose whatever you want. So here, I'm not advocating for you to save your relationship and take back your partner who had an affair. That is all up to you. My advice to you here is that do not waste the pain. Do not distract you from what truly matters, which is your internal growth, so that you can actually have the freedom and the power to choose which path you want to go. And so if you want to learn more about these 5 pillars and the 3 layers of changes that we're talking about here, then you can join me in my masterclass by clicking the link above my head or also down below this video. In that masterclass, I'll show you the exact process all my clients have used to get them from partner cheating, partner having an affair, partner leaving to another country sometimes, to the state of reconciliation because they became 10x of any other alternatives they can find. But for now, guys, I hope that was helpful for you guys, and I'll see you guys in the next video.